Let's go to Magdeburg. Let's bring in Nick Holdsworth, our correspondent there. Nick, good to talk to you this evening. Talk us through the atmosphere, the incidents. I mentioned the booing today of Olaf Scholz, what he had to say and what we know to have happened.
Yeah, there was a degree of anger directed at the Chancellor when he left after visiting the market and speaking to the press, which took place inside the market behind me. But as he left from this area, there were crowds of people here, and some of them had already been interviewed by local journalists, and they were showing some anger. Some people were already shouting and expressing their views about what had happened. And when Scholz appeared, that grew into fury, and it wasn't just booing, it was telling Scholz to get out of Magdeburg in no uncertain terms, using language a lot harsher and sharper than that. And the same thing when Nancy Faeser, the Interior Minister, she also left from this area, and there was quite a large police presence there. There were crowds. There was not an ugly atmosphere, but there was quite a tense atmosphere at that point. As the day has unfolded, things have started getting back to some kind of normality nearly 24 hours after that lethal incident last night, with the trams now running behind me, with fewer people on the streets and some small candlelit vigils on the pavements around the scene of the attack. The market itself is still closed to the public and won't reopen again this year. And there's also been some criticism of how Talib A, as he's been named, could have actually accessed the market. Just behind me are the tram lines. Now, these are emergency access routes for the market, and there weren't bollards, there aren't bollards at the end. It was patrolled by the police. Local authorities are trying to downplay the fact that he could drive so easily up here. He drove quite slowly up these tram lanes, I understand, and then swung right and accelerated through the market, and has now been charged with 5 counts of murder and 200 counts of attempted murder by the regional prosecutor.
It's very interesting, the trams going past as well. Was that one of the issues a number of people have mentioned, the fact that there was a tramway through, and that's perhaps one of the reasons that there was this gap? And the other thing to mention to you, Nick, as that information came through last night, there was this gulp, oh, here we go again, because, you know, you and I have spoke previously. I covered the Berlin Christmas attacks all those time ago, back 2016, the whole atmosphere around Europe. I covered the Brussels Christmas New Year celebrations being cancelled, and a lot of lessons were said to have been learned, security around Christmas markets. And as you said, a lot of people, I imagine, have said to you today, why is this still happening in an area that we're told now is far more secure?
Well, absolutely, and that's going to be a key question in the election campaign. We're headed up in a couple of months' time to the snap elections due on February the 23rd, and the AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, the far-right party, which has significant support here in Magdeburg, they got 22% of the vote in regional elections last September. They're planning to hold a demonstration on Monday with Alice Wiedel, the co-leader of the party, planning to come to Magdeburg, and they say that they're going to focus on this attack in their electioneering. At the same time, anti-right wingers are planning a demonstration in Magdeburg tonight, and the local Muslim community is also planning to hold a vigil and to support calls for peace, which echo those calls for peace made by Chancellor Scholz today, who said that Germany mustn't fall apart and become divided into hatred for one another over this incident. It does seem that the perpetrator had a lot of different views, some confusion in his mind. I understand that he had been due in court in Berlin on Thursday, just a day before the attack, for making unnecessary phone calls to fire services. Apparently he walked into a Berlin police station at some point in the past year to register some complaint, and then tried to phone the fire brigade, and was due to be prosecuted. He didn't turn up to court, I understand, on Thursday, and then committed allegedly this attack on Friday before he was arrested by armed police last night, a few minutes after the incident.
Nick, thank you. Good to talk to you. Nick Holdsworth, our correspondent in Magdeburg.